Why to train martially? The word martial derives from the god Mars, which is associated with war and power. To move martially is to move in a way which is often used in a fighting environment. Now, to move more martially, you don't need to be a fighter. What I want to propose is that moving more martially has actually a lot of benefits, not only to be able to fight better or defend yourself better, but also for general speed and power in your movements without having to gain a lot of muscle and mass. Also, just health benefits in general, mental benefits, emotional benefits. There are a lot of benefits when you move more martial. Let's take MMA, mixed martial arts, as an example. The UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship, they have a lot of fighters, and with these fights you get to see how they are moving their body. And what really catches my eye is how it's so unilateral. You know, one moment they're on their right leg, next moment they're on their left leg, and they have to shift their weight constantly. And with this weight shifting comes ranges of motion which we can use. Now I want to focus on the spine. Let's look at this spine. Let's say, for example, in a clinch, you usually see them a lot doing this, like here, because from here they have the range of motion. They can knee, the knee, they can punch over, they can also use their hips to engage with their opponent. And for when you throw a punch, it's kind of similar. The clinches, you can really see me going side to side. When throwing a punch is similar, like I said. When we throw a punch, we stand on one foot. We almost never throw a punch with 2 feet side to side, very bilateral. It's always unilateral. So we are here and we want to throw a punch, and you see I'm on one side again when I throw the punch. Now, of course, this will vary. One punch can be more bilateral, another punch can be 100% unilateral. But in essence, moving martially is to move unilaterally in a certain spectrum. And with this unilateral approach, we get to explore, especially in the spine. And the spine is what I think is most interesting. To be a good martial artist, you have to be fast, right? And to get this quickness in your movements, it's good to be able to use every range of motion which exists. Because the more range of motion we can have, the more of a pathway we have to use these contractile forces which are in our muscles. So when we throw a punch, why do they always say rotate? Because this already, instead of this is a little bit very linear, right? When we rotate, we already have more pathway. So this principle, now remember this principle, the more pathway we have, the more we can generate force. So with this principle in mind, knowing that the spine is not only capable of rotating, also not only capable of bending forwards and backwards, but also capable of going from side to side, why don't we mix all of these ranges of motion? So let's take a stance, which is usually taken in a martial artist context. We have one foot in the front, one foot in the back. Now we can rotate, which already creates more power, but we can also use our side bending. So when we rotate and side bend, we use more range of motion. And when I'm in this position, I get very I get a similar feeling as when I put patients in a lumbar roll. I am an osteopath, so when I want to work with the lumbar spine, I usually position patients in such a way that I can put pressure on this lumbar spine. Now doing this, having one foot in front, rotating, side bending, maybe extending or flexing, whichever you want to do. But most importantly, the rotation and the side bending. Doing this, I get a very similar feeling. I use all the ranges of motion that exist in my spine and I compromise them fully. And from there, I have a lot of pathway to punch. And I can create a lot of force because I leveraged the range of motion which my spine is capable of. So by going in all these ranges of motion, I'm able to work also not only on creating power, but also on unblocking certain restrictions in my spine. Because if I'm going in all the ranges of motion which my spine is capable of, I will find parts, because I've used all of the pathway, I will find parts where my spine is more restricted. And it is exactly these parts which we can work with, because we can move our spine, right? Going into all these ranges of motion and feeling where is my spine actually restricted. First, you can already do this going one side, feeling it, going to the other side, feeling it. Is it left or right? Does it feel the same? Does it feel different? And then we can also go more into the intricacies of one side. The more I go here, the more I leverage this rotation, I will first encounter the upper vertebrae and I will go down, 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 and I can feel actually here, so around my second or third vertebra, there's more restriction. And here I can work, I can mobilize, I can stretch even on the other side to fully lock into it. This is pretty intense, you know. This is not something you just do, but it's something you work towards. First of all, even knowing this is possible. Second of all, knowing the patterns you can utilize to get into this movement, into this range of motion. Thirdly, we have to listen really carefully. How does it feel? So after we know the technique and we've done it enough times, we can exit our rational brain and enter our sensational brain, which can sense how does it feel. Are there any restrictions? So using this, you can really enter your spine. And this is so powerful. I really feel this is how I can really work with the lower part of my spine, engaging with all those ranges of motion and then exploring it. Where is it restricted? Where can I work with? And it's so similar to how I use this in therapeutical and it's so similar to how I use this in a therapeutical context, right? I also mobilize with it. Now, of course, this won't exactly be the same because I've been trained to spot these restrictions in people's bodies. And so I kind of also know how my body is feeling. Also, I know a lot of anatomy. So this really helps. But I do believe this is actually possible for anyone. And I'm not the first one to talk about this. David Weck is a really big guy. He talks about the coiling core, which you can fully rotate into one side of the body and stretching the other side of the body. It's the same. I actually got this idea from him, but I feel it can really be extrapolated on because he uses this in a martial way. I think this is also so beneficial for just health in general, unblocking the spine and regaining communication throughout your whole body. Yeah, I think this is really great, and I just wanted to share this right now. I will get back to it more and more. But yeah, hope you enjoy that. Let me know what you think about this approach. Also, if you have certain ways you use to enter your spine, let me know because I'm really interested. Yeah, with all that out of the way, more well, be well. See you in the next one.